Welcome to Life, Love, and Good Stuff. Father and daughter chats with David and Sophie McCallum. Here we discuss seeing and living life through the lens of self-love, how family relationships and life experiences hinder or fuel an authentic, rewarding life. A life filled with conscious, compassionate self-love. And sometimes we just have a good chat. Actor David McCallum has appeared in theater, film, and television and is a critically acclaimed author. David's most enduring roles include the Russian agent Ilya Kuryakin in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Dr. Donald Ducky Mallard on the CBS hit NCIS. Sophie McCallum was born in New York City where she lives today. Sophie's a certified life coach but specializes in self-love coaching as the self-love peddler. Sophie is an energy leadership master practitioner and strives to start each day with love in her heart for herself and the world around her.
Well, here we are back again.
We're back again. Hi, Dad.
Hello.
Today, right now, you and I are going to talk about confidence.
Yes, I knew that, and so I looked it up here. A belief or conviction that an outcome will be favorable. It's a belief in the certainty of something, and belief, which I think is what Sophie wants, in the effectiveness of one's own abilities or one's own favorable acceptance by others, which also has self-confidence, or trust or faith in a person or thing. Yeah.
And David Schwartz, motivational speaker, wrote that all confidence is acquired, it's developed. No one is born with confidence. Those people you know who radiate confidence, who have conquered worry, have acquired their confidence, every bit of it.
It also says here, freedom from doubt, belief in yourself and your abilities.
I had never thought about confidence as a belief. I thought of it as...
Well, it's learned. You're not
learned.
Born with it.
But in just the little bit of talking that we've done, I think that confidence, it was like, it's like you either have a wristwatch or you don't have a wristwatch. You have confidence or you don't have confidence. Rather than, I am going to believe that I have confidence and then you have it.
Why do you need it?
Because it helps in manifesting and visualizing the positive possibilities for growth and change in your life that you are capable of without focusing on the fear and the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been proven that visualizing and believing that, like every time Michael Jordan goes for a shot, he says he sees it go in.
Right. Well, everything you're talking about and everything you're saying points to one thing, and one thing only, that if you don't have it and then you acquire it through life, the cat wants to come in.
Should we let the cat in?
I think you'd better. No, I'll do it.
It's all right. It's all right. I'll get it. Keep talking.
It's acquired by practice.
Typical cat, she won't come in.
Yeah.
All right, Nikki, you lose.
You acquire it by working at it. And the way you work it is, everything you said to me just now. The reason why when he throws the ball up into the thing and it goes in most of the time, because he's done a lot of practicing. I mean, you see the guys in the street, the ones that are out there doing it all the time. Look, your son's down there. I mean,
yeah.
Luca. I mean, Ian just nails it every single time. I mean, it's his confidence in that is because he practices. And in my work, I'll tell you a terrible story. I was probably, 12, 13, 14 years old. I don't know how old I was, but I was young. And there's a church hall where we were living, And in that church hall they did recitals and everything and everything. It's where I decided I wanted to become an actor. But earlier than that, my mother was supposed to play with her cello and play some music as one of the, so we call them acts. And she couldn't do it. And she said, would you mind going along and playing, 3 pieces of music? And I said, fine. So I got my oboe out, I practiced. There was a little Schubert, a little Mozart, and I don't know what else, but 3 pieces of music. And I met the pianist and we played, and it was all great. And then it came the day, and I was nervous. And for the first half of the program, and I was in the second half, I sat in the audience, and my father told me that was disaster. You just never, ever go near the venue until you have to go out and perform. It evidently does terrible things to you. We did to him. But I did. So I was paralytic with nerves when I finally seized my oboe and walked through the people, got up on the stage and sat down the thing with the pianist. And he gave a nice nod. He started to play, and I started to play, and we were playing different pieces of music. The order was the one thing that we hadn't sort of agreed on. So we laughed, everybody laughed. There was a little smattering of well done, And so we changed the music, and then we started again, and again we did it wrong. By which time there was water dripping down my spine. I was shaking like a leaf. My mouth was the embouchure. There's no way I could play an oboe. So I picked out the oboe and I ran down the side, and there was a window, and I climbed out the window, went out, and ran all the way home.
How old were you?
Probably about 8 or 9, 10, so, pretty young. And I got home, and it wasn't till a long time later that Mother found out what had happened. She didn't know anything about it. And she came to me and she said, I'm really sorry I put you in that position. And I said, no, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Because one thing you need if you're going to perform, and I suppose life is a performance, to have that confidence, you have to be well versed in your subject. You have to know why you're there, what you're doing, and be able to do it to the best of your ability through practice. And have things worked out. And I said, I will never perform in public again without being fully aware of what it's called, and being able to do it, to the best of my abilities. So it was a tremendous lesson at a very, very early age. And Mark Harmon, when we're doing autopsy scenes, which are 5-6 pages long, and I've got all the dialogue, and it's a lot of aortal stenosis and whatever, molecular this and molecular that. And we just do the entire thing on a master shot from way back, and I get it, as we say, DLP, dead letter perfect. And he high-fives me and says, David, you rock, And I'm so happy because we got it in one, But it's the product of a colossal. It's 3 days sometimes, unless the script's been given to you 2 hours before. But it's the product of learning it, repeating it. I tape record the other people's lines so I can play the scene with the tape recorder before I go into the studio. When they don't get it right, that's the only thing that screws me up, because I've got it right on my tape recorder. But to have that confidence as a performer requires rehearsing, as we've talked before, with the ends of my fingers loose. I'm not even thinking about the words or anything. I'm just so, I know how it's it. It just happens. And it doesn't happen unless you put the work in. Because I work with actors who get the script in the morning, read it once, think they know it, screw up 3 takes and finally get it right, It's a common courtesy with acting to get it right the first time for the others, It's a team. It makes me very angry when they don't do that. But I'm old-fashioned.
Well, and you appreciate being prepared, and
Yeah.
clearly not being prepared when you were 8 wasn't something you wanted to relive.
No, and I was prepared, but I wasn't fully prepared. It was just that last step. All right, this comes first, that comes second, that comes third. There's nothing to do with playing the oboe. Nothing, or being there or anything else, or being nervous. It was just, I hadn't. You put the music.
I've never heard that story.
Yeah, it was a tough one. But then, of course, in the same church hall, I played the Little Prince in King John, where this big burly torturer comes along. He's the executioner with a red-hot poker, and he's going to put the kid's eyes out. And he did, and he killed him. I mean, this is history. But I played that scene, which Shakespeare wrote beautifully, and here's this emaciated little blonde kid on stage, and this big burly amateur actor, whoever he was. But at the end of that scene, that entire audience of 250 to 300 people stood up, applauded, and said, "Bravo, bravo." And I thought to myself, I don't need homework.
Or the oboe.
I don't need to practice the oboe. I'm home. This is it. Yeah. And that was the moment when I decided, that's and then. It wasn't a conscious decision. It just happened. And I never did anything else.
Well,
until now.
You did quite a bit of other things, but you focused on that intently.
Oh, totally.
And there's also, with creativity and practice, there's so many different... I mean, I now am playing music again, and I am never prepared because I'm doing it for fun. But I have the confidence to know that I can get up there and do my best and make a few mistakes, and it'll still be what it's meant to be, because my goal is strictly to have fun.
Yeah,
so also having your preparedness align with your goal, which is, when you're performing professionally, that's very different. But there are those who are fully prepared and to the T, and they still don't have the confidence to do it, to take that leap of faith. And
perhaps they never will.
But I do think doing some of the things on a very small level that you and I have discussed here today in this recording and previous ones, that understanding what you need for yourself so that you can follow through completely, and doing everything from taking a nap to a walk to having a healthy juice or whatever it is that is going to fill your bucket, you have a greater chance of being able to cross that line into the realm of acquired confidence.
And setting goals is good.
Setting goals is huge. And one thing I did for years that was detrimental to growth was I would set goals on a daily basis that were completely unattainable. But I never thought about the yearly goals. I would think, what do I need to do to get XYZ today? And I would overbook that day and never be able to accomplish it. But I never thought, where do I want to be in a year? Where do I want to be in 2 years? And what little things on a daily basis. It's amazing what we can accomplish in 365 days. And most human beings underestimate what they can do in 365 days and grossly overestimate what they can do in 24 hours. And I was guilty of that for years.
In your experience, do you find that people compare themselves to other people?
Yes, most people do. And I think it's because there's a tremendous disconnect between knowing ourselves and thinking we know ourselves, particularly in the world of today, where this insidious thing, and wonderful on a certain level, streams everyone else's experiences through the lenses that they choose to show you those experiences constantly. And so you're encouraged to compare and contrast, not even contrast, just you're encouraged to just compare. And it's so, I used to have tremendous anxiety at social events and little things like school pickup for my kids, because, what was everyone else going to be wearing, and what were they doing, and what kind of job did they have, and who did they marry, and where did they live? And it was a lack of connection between my knowledge that I was living the purest, or I hate to use best, the most fulfilling life that I could live. I didn't yet have a purpose. I have a very clear purpose now. The meaning of my life has been to understand self-care and self-awareness and self-love in myself so that I can help other people. My purpose is to share that journey. My purpose is to guide the women with whom I work to get to a place where they're so keenly aware of who they are and so compassionately and consciously in love with who they are and their flaws, their awareness. It's not all, rainbows and sunshine, but awareness of who they are, so that what other people are doing is something that you couldn't even compare yourself to, because it's like comparing spaceships and dandelions. Your experience and someone else's experience. Of course there are commonalities and we can learn and share, but when you truly have a knowledge of yourself, and that takes work, and I'm selling courses that help guide you through that work. Once you do that, you don't have that anxiety of comparison and having to measure up to others, because your journey is so unique and you cannot compare it to anyone else. And the beauty of it is, when you bring that awareness to yourself, you can then celebrate the guy or the gal next door and what they're doing, because there's no threat. It's just two lives, it's just...
Yeah, but also you open yourself up to one of the most important things, I think, and that is, what have you not done? What have you not tried to do?
Right.
I mean, there's a silly joke. I mean, do you play the violin? I don't know. I've never tried. Well, I love that. But it's there's your life, and you're doing this and doing that and other things. But wait a minute. What about accounting?
Right. Well, but you can spread yourself too thin. What about, it can't be so arbitrary. What about, I know from the experiences I've had in the last almost 47 years that I'm not going to try accounting.
No, but I'm just...
But I also know that
There's everything.
There's everything, although I consider myself a bit of like...
accounting starts with A, so it's the top of the list.
Yeah, exactly. Zoology. That was great.
Oh, yeah. Well, you see, great minds do things alike.
No, but I consider myself like a little bit rock and roll and a little bit hippie, and I never thought that I would be knitting and needle pointing with my bifocals. And I so happily, last night everyone was asleep, and I was sitting by the fire with my feet rested on my son's basketball, on Ian's basketball, knitting for like 2 hours. And, that's not accounting. I mean, it's not trying something totally different, but the more awareness you have about yourself, the more likely you are to kind of figure out, okay, maybe this didn't align with my idea of myself, but it actually, in trying all of these different things and saying things like, what about accounting? You get to build up that picture of who you are, but at your core, you've got your roots, they're grounded, you're safe, and it gives you, what I call it in my business, is an opportunity to flourish and fly. Like, you're so grounded, you're so rooted that you can say, as you said, hey, what about, do you play the violin? I don't know. And there's no fear of failure, because there's no such thing. There's, just as we were saying before, there's no such thing as even love, you said at one point, or anxiety. Like, these are just states of being. So if you're not going to fear them, you can kind of try anything. And if you're going to control anxiety, you can control confidence, you can control love, you can control. It's just about an awareness.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what makes you tick, you're going to go around trying 5 minutes of accounting and 5 minutes of zoology and wind up being pretty bad at a lot of different things.
Yes, it's very interesting what you just said, though, when you were talking about this cell phone and the fact that people interact in the way they do, and what have we got, FaceTime
No, FaceTime is how you call people. You're thinking of Facebook.
Facebook, well, you got both. FaceTime, Facebook, Instagram.
Instagram, very good.
There's all these string of things which I'm split. It's a complete, I don't know. I'm missing something, yes. At the same time, I just don't want that intrusion.
I'm with you.
And I threw a line in him with Ducky. I don't think it was in a script, but it may have been, where I said the greatest disservice that's happened to mankind is the silicon chip. And nobody said anything. And it's in the show. But Ducky really is the kind of person who would feel that way.
But at the same time, Ducky may feel that way. The benefits are truly extraordinary.
Yeah, but we were talking about interactions and relationships and language and the aesthetics, which we've talked about before. But
well, we also know about life.
But that's
without
not
all
the
of
point.
it.
All that. Yeah. But what I'm keying into here is the fact that the way Gavin and George and all those grandchildren and Luca and Ian and everybody, the way they interact and interplay with all of their different worlds and different age levels, and it's just so complicated. And to have this as the conduit to everything, you're getting, it's like a tsunami, if you forgive the
and it's also
simile, but it's a tsunami of information and relationships.
Yeah.
And
it used to be impressive to be able to list the
with
presidents, and now you can just Google it. So what's the point of memorizing the presidents? I mean, like, what kind of knowledge we value?
Even back then, what was the? I mean, no. In those days, when you went. I studied this with Robert Martin back when we were trying to do programs, early computer programs for schools. And the first question I asked him, I said, what is the purpose of an education? Why do kids go to school? What do parents want? And in those days, you went to school to learn how to learn. That was very important. So when you got to college and you're on your own, you knew how to learn. This was vital. It was probably the key element to what we were doing. That went away. It gone. Now you don't have to learn. You just look it up. It's all changing. All that's changing. And it's fascinating in what you just said, in the way kids relate. They don't relate to whatever we were talking about back then. It's all here.
I remember sitting around, at David's house up the block as a kid playing Monopoly, and, we couldn't come up with a name. And it would take 3 days before someone would, Dennis Quaid or whatever. Now you just, and it shapes us.
I give myself about 5 minutes and then
you let it go. And then it comes to you.
Then I
But we started all this talking about confidence, which is interesting, and now we're talking about cell phones. But what interests me is if knowing statistics, which you don't need to memorize anymore, and everybody has, it's the playing field is leveled because we've got them in our pockets. What is the next level? How do you, should we applaud the skeptics who are going to look at the information on here and discover what's true or how it's being spun? What is it? How are people learning now? Going to the moon. Oh my goodness, I don't want to go to the moon.
But everybody said it never happened. It was a studio and a whole setup that they did on NBC. The skeptics, I mean, I don't know, the quality of the video is definitely coming from the moon. Yeah.
Well,
Are we talking about confidence or religion, or what are we talking about?
I don't know what we're talking about anymore. But I have a question for you about confidence. It's going to take it back and change the subject, because why not? How are we doing here? We're done, but we can... I have this question for you. How did it affect your confidence? Because you had tremendous success early in your career with The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And you...
That was midway through my career. I had a career in Europe before I came
You did have
here.
a career, but you had tremendous success. You were still very young. You were in your 20s, right? Man from Uncle?
30.
30s. Okay, so midway through your career. And then you've had tremendous success. And I won't say success because how do you quantify or value success? Is it the money? Okay, recognition, which is where I'm going with this. For my childhood, you didn't have the same kind of recognition that you did before I was born, and then now as a woman, as an adult. And so when I was with you growing up, the thing that would happen to us at restaurants is the line was, "Oh my gosh, didn't you used to be?" And I remember you were saying, "Well, I still am." And how did you maintain your confidence through all of that? I mean, you never stopped working. You never stopped creating. You made good work. You made work to pay the bills. But how
You know what happens now?
What?
I go in and they say, "Oh my God, you are alive."
Well, there you have it. You won.
You're still alive. I mean, the cast of The Great Escape, only John
one
Lydon.
other, yeah.
The cast of The Greatest Story Ever Told. I mean, these massive movies I did back then, everybody's gone.
I watched Damn Yankees the other night, and I was thinking there's no way anyone who made that movie is still alive.
No.
How to Marry a Millionaire.
And then I see all these people, and lots of people that I worked with back then, and they're getting older, and they have these things on, again, back to that thing. Where are they now?
Yeah.
And what do they look like, which is really what they are. And you have to hit next to get the next one. It is such a...
Racket.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I love you.
I love you too. I talk too much.
No, I think I talk too much.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Please hit the subscribe button so you're notified each time a Life, Love, and Good Stuff Father and Daughter Chats with David and Sophie McCallum podcast drops. Until next time, remember to lead with love.